All right, here we go. So let's see how hard this is. And I looked at delta, and you can leave it however you want, as long as it's dy dx. So the first thing I would do, before doing anything at all, I would transform the 2x plus 5y into an exponent. So I would do this, guys. I would go 2x plus 5y, close it to the power half, equals y. So I haven't done anything yet. All I've done was algebra. So I'm going to take a derivative. Here we go. I bring the half to the front, leave the inside alone. I put to what power? Negative 1/2. Am I done? No. Open a parenthesis. And now I'm going to start taking the derivative of the inside. What's the derivative of 2x? 2, because I'm doing it with respect to x. Good job. Plus? Perfect. Close it. Equals, what's the derivative of y? dy dx. Okay, you are done with calculus. Now comes algebra. Let's see, what would I do? I think I would do this. 2 plus 5 dy dx over, and I will put 2 in parentheses, square root of 2x plus 5y equals dy dx. Is everyone okay with that? The next thing I would do, I would multiply by the denominator to get rid of it. I don't know if do you guys want me to multiply that 2 there? It doesn't matter. Okay, I'll multiply the 2. I'm talking about this one there. It does and it doesn't matter. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply everything left and right. So now I'm going to have this. I'm going to have 2 plus 5 dy dx equals 2 square root of 2x plus 5y and then a dy dx next to it. If you want to use parentheses, that's fine. Are we okay so far? I'm going to move the 5 dy dx to the right. And when I do that, I'm going to, well, okay, here we go. 2 equals 2 square root 2x plus 5y under that square root with a dy dx on it minus 5 dy dx. Are we still okay? I'm going to factor a dy dx. Okay, I can see why this is level 3. It's just a lot of algebra. 2 equals, so here's me factoring dy dx. dy dx, open parenthesis, 2 square root 2x plus 5y minus 5, close. I don't see any mistakes. Nope, I don't see any mistakes. How do I get the dy dx by itself? Divide. So here's what I have. dy dx equals 2 divided by 2 square root 2x plus 5y minus 5. It's a lot of algebra. You don't have to simplify it. So that means the answer that delta has is just one of many answers. Maybe they simplified it. Maybe they did more steps. Maybe they did less steps. Are we okay? All right. I don't see any errors. I see dy dx. Yeah, I don't see any errors. I think we're good. All right. Go to the next one. This is level 1, so it should be easy. Let's see how easy it is. It says find dy dx at the point 1, 2. You guys ready? What's the derivative of 5x cubed? So 15x squared plus what's the derivative of x squared? 2x equals what's the derivative of y squared? Perfect. Plus dy dx. Yeah, I can see why it's level 1. Now I'm going to factor out a dy dx on the right because all the dy dx is already there. So 15x squared plus 2x equals dy dx, open parenthesis, 2y plus 1. That's the most common mistake. You don't put the plus 1. Now I'm going to what? Divide. So I'm going to write it like this. dy dx equals 15x squared plus 2x over 2y plus 1. Then if you want to be proper, I know right now you don't have to be proper. You can just put equals and then substitute. But if you want to get in the habit of having good habits, write dy dx, put a line, ordered pair, put 1 comma 2, close it, and then just plug in. 15 times 1 squared plus 2 times 1 over 2 times 2 plus 1. Let's see what that is. 15 plus 2 over 4 plus 1. I bet you can probably even write it like that and it'll count it right. Because it doesn't say to simplify, but 15, 16, 17 over 5. There's my answer. How do we feel? Okay, so let's see if level 2 really is harder. Let's see what it says. If 2y squared equals 5 plus xy cubed, then find the equation of all tangent lines to the curve when y equals -1. Okay. Every time you want a tangent line, you need two things. What and what? Point and a slope. They don't give me the point yet, so I need to find the point. They just give me y. If I have one, I can find the other. What do? Perfect. So I'm going to put find point first. Find point first for good notes. Comma, insert y equals -1 into expression. So here we go. I'm actually curious to see how this line looks, or this curve looks. I'm going to put it on decimals in a little bit. 2 times -1 squared equals 5 plus x times -1 to the third power. So that gives me 2 equals 5 minus x. So I'm going to move the x that way and the 2 that way. So x equals 5 minus 2, so x equals 3. Sometimes you have more than one point, so you'll have several tangents. Sometimes you just have one. So here's my point. 3 comma -1. Are we okay? Okay, I haven't done any calculus, guys. Here we go. Now we're going to do calculus. I'm going to take the derivative implicitly. What's the derivative of 2y squared? 4y dy dx equals, what's the derivative of, what rule do I got to use for the xy cubed? Product. So first times derivative of the second, 3y squared dy dx plus second y cubed times derivative of the first, which is just 1. So here we go, leaving it in putting it in pretty order. 4 dy dx equals, some of you have this habit, you guys have done, I've seen, or at least I saw it in your homework, 3y squared dy dx. It's fine. It's fine, but I would not do it that way because it's not, it's fine, it's correct. But the correct way is you put the coefficient in the front and then you go xy squared dy dx. Let me tell you why. You usually want to have a coefficient in the very front of a product and then you put the variables. Chavez, what order do I put the variables? Go by the alphabet. X comes before y, so you put xy. If you have A, B, C, D, E all being multiplied, you put the A first and you put the E last because that's the order of the alphabet. That makes sense? It doesn't always follow that order, but that's the theme there. Plus y cubed. All right, now it just turns to move this to the left. So 4y dy dx minus 3xy squared dy dx equals y cubed. Factor out a dy dx. You don't have to show all these steps. I know some of you are probably bored with all the steps being showed. And then divide by that expression. So dy dx equals y cubed over 4y minus 3xy squared. So then I write dy dx evaluated at the point 3 -1 equals to -1 to the third. So it's going to be a -1 there. 4 times -1 minus 3 times 3 times -1 squared. Let's see what that is. -1 divided by -4. 3 times 3 is 9. -1 squared is 1. 9 times 1 is 9. So -4 minus 9. So negative divided by negative is a positive. 1 over 13. Is that correct to you guys? Okay, pretty flat line. Huh. I wonder how this curve looks. So here's my tangent line. So where do I write it? So tangent is y plus 1 equals 1/13 parenthesis x minus 3 close. I actually want to see this. I wasn't going to, but I actually want to see this one. Because I don't know how, I mean, I have an idea. Oh man, that's a weird slant asymptote. As x gets larger, it kind of looks like a rational maybe. Okay, let's see how it looks. You guys aren't curious to know how this looks? I haven't tried it, guys, so I don't know. I haven't tried this equation. I want to see how it looks. Don't worry, I'll come back. All right, what's the equation? What's the expression? The original. 2y squared equals 5 plus what? xy to the third power. Oh, love it. Okay, yeah, and I can see it's already pretty flat by the time you get to 3. So yeah, it's going to work. That slope is a really flat slope, right? What was my tangent line? Y plus 1 equal to 1 over 13. Oh, man. X plus what? X minus 3. Yeah. Look, check it out. Looks awesome. It looks real awesome. Here's, I'm assuming that's 3. Yep. There it is. It looks like a tangent. It just looks really weird. But yeah, that graph is weird. I didn't make that graph up. Delta made it. Delta. Oh, you Delta. All right. What's up, miss? What? Oh, because sometimes you have more than one point. Like where you got to find it, right? Like, let's say I would have had, see how we plugged in a -1 and we solved it for x? What if I would have had x squared? It would have been plus minus 3. Because you got to take the square root. You know what I mean? So if you have more than one coordinate, then you got to find your two tangents. If you have 2, if you have 3, you got to find 3. If it would have, well, x cubed would have just been 2. But yeah, what's up? Just 1, sorry, if it would have been x cubed. No, they give you the y value. If this would have been x squared y cubed, and they already gave, look, they just gave me 1. If that would have been x squared right here, x squared equals 3, then I would have had x equals plus minus square root of 3. So what are my ordered pairs? Square root of 3 comma -1, and negative square root of 3 comma -1. Of course, that's not the case, but if it were the case, I would have to do that. Do you have a question? Oh, you're just okay. Sorry. All right. Let's do this one. Find the points given slope of a tangent line. If y squared plus xy equals -2x plus 3, and it is known that dy dx equals -2 minus y over 2y plus x, find all coordinates points on the curve where y equals -1 and the line tangent to the curve is vertical or said no such point exists. Read it again in case you didn't understand what it said. All right, she's like, here. Okay, miss. Here we go. So look, they're being nice. Being nice. They don't have to give us that. I'm gonna take a guess that they're probably doing that to save time because it's probably gonna be lengthy. That's just my taking a guess. You should be able to find that derivative from here, right? So they're being nice. There's no need for you to take a derivative. Find all coordinate points on the curve where y equals -1 and the line tangent to the curve is vertical, or state that no such point exists. Okay, so tell me something. When do I have vertical tangents? When the slope is undefined. So put that in there for good notes. Vertical tangents happen when dy dx is undefined. Cool or not cool? All right. So here we go. I am going to find where this denominator equals 0. Cool or not cool? I need an x and I need a y value. I already have a y value here. Let's see. Here's what I'm going to do. What am I going to do? Do I want to solve for, I guess it's begging to be solved for x here. So I'm going to say that x equals 2y. Negative 2y, yeah. And then I need to make sure that this point is on the curve. They give me -1, right? So look, y is given. Y is given. So x equals negative 2 times negative 1. So I get 2. Now hold on. Before you guys all go to negative 1, I need to make sure that this 2 is on the curve. So I'm going to put is 2, x equals 2. Is x equals 2 on curve? I'm going to put question mark. Do you guys know what I'm doing? Okay, I'm going to start again. Ready? Because this is a hard one conceptually. All right. They want to know if I have a vertical tangent. And if I do, they want to know at what point. Does that make sense to you guys? All right. When do I have vertical tangents? Whenever my slope is undefined. So what makes this slope undefined? If the denominator were to equal 0. So that's what I did. 2y plus x equals 0. Are we still cool? Then I got x by itself. So I moved the 2y to the right. So I said x equals negative 2y. Yes or no? They gave me a y value. They told me find all coordinate points in the curve where y is negative 1. Remember, they told me that y value, negative 1. And for this slope to be undefined, this expression has to be true. Yes? Okay, I plug in the negative 1 in there, and this is telling me that I have an undefined slope if my x value is 2. But now, so there it is. So are we clear up to now? Now I got to make sure, okay, does this curve even have a point at 2, negative 1? Does it even have a point at 2, negative 1? Does that make sense to you? So I got to plug this into the original, and if I get a true statement, it's on the curve. If I get a false statement, then it's not on the curve. Does that make sense? All right, so here we go. I'm going to write, let's see, I'm going to write the expression first. Y squared plus xy equals negative 2x plus 3. There's my expression. And let's see if it's on the curve. Negative 1 squared plus 2 times negative 1. So that side better match on the right side. Negative 2 times 2 plus 3. So let's see. 1 minus 2 equals negative 4 plus 3. Negative 1 equals negative 1. Man, these guys. Is it on the curve? Yes. Yes. I actually want to see this one too. I want to see this vertical tangent. So what's the answer? 2, negative 1. Hence, 2, negative 1 is a point on the curve with a vertical tangent. If I have a vertical tangent, that means x equals 2. I want to see this. I actually want to see this. Do you guys want to see it? No? Oh, man. I want to see this equation. I want to definitely see this equation. Give me the equation. Y squared plus xy is equal to negative 2x plus 3. I already see where. Look at that. At 2. There's also another one at 6. Oh, man, I missed that one. How did I miss that one? The y was squared. OMG, I would have gotten this one wrong. Guys, there's 2 answers on this one. So look, one answer is x equals 2. I can't believe, I'm so mad now. But there's another one. It's very clear by this picture that there's another one. So let's look back to see where I went wrong. Okay, I don't see it squared. Fine. It says find all coordinates. Y equals negative 1. No, okay, we got it right. Because there's only one value where y is negative 1. Y equals negative 1. Man, I was already about to get mad. Okay, good thing. There's only one coordinate where y equals negative 1. I'm sorry that it's turning on and off there, but do you see that's the only one? Yeah. If it wouldn't have said y equals negative 1 and it just said find all coordinates where you have undefined, then I would have also had it at x equals 6. I was about to get mad at myself for not catching that. But good thing. Isn't this awesome that we can visualize all this stuff? Look how pretty this curve is, guys. Look how dynamic it is. Okay. I'm loving it, but I know it's not McDonald's, but okay. Here we go. This is the last one. Okay. Delta, I'm almost 100% certain, is going to make this one harder than it really is. I'm already looking at it. If negative xy minus y equals 4x, then find the second derivative, dx at the point negative 3, negative 6, in simplest form. Relax. What does simplest form mean? Simplify, reduce it. So if you have an answer like 5/10, if you put 5/10, it's going to count it wrong. What's the simplified form of 5/10? 1/2. Cool or not cool? All right. Here is how we do this one, guys. And I bet you Delta is going to make it complicated, but here it is. First, take the first derivative. We can do that, right? What rule do I got to use for this guy? Yeah, so here's what I would do, guys. You can factor out the negative if you want, but I'm going to keep it, and I like to group it like that. I group the negative with the x, and the second one, I'm going to make it like a positive y. So first, negative x times rid of the second, dy dx, plus second, y, times rid of the first, negative 1. Do you see what we did there? Minus, what's the derivative of y? dy dx equals, what's the derivative of 4x? 4. You are done with calculus. Now it's just algebra. So I'm going to move this dy dx to the right, and so is this one. So here's what I have. Negative y equals, and I'm going to move the 4 to the left. Negative y minus 4 equals, let's see, dy dx plus x dy dx. I don't see any errors. Yeah, we're good right now. Factor out a dy dx on the right. Negative y minus 4 equals dy dx, open parenthesis, 1 plus x, close. And divide by that 1 plus x. So I have dy dx equals negative y minus 4. And I'm really tempted to factor out a negative, but I'm going to leave it. 1 plus x. Are we okay?
What if you got y plus 4 over negative x?
Same thing. It's the same as this. You'll get the same answer. Are we okay so far? All right, here we go. I'm going to take a second derivative right here. What rule do I got to use? So I'm doing this second derivative here. D squared y over dx squared equals bottom, 1 plus x, times the derivative of the top, negative dy dx. If you did it backwards, that's fine. You're going to have opposite signs. Minus top, negative y minus 4, times the derivative of the bottom, which is 1, all over bottom squared. Are we okay? Okay. The habit of every textbook that I've, well, not every textbook, but the few textbooks that I've seen, is probably going to be the habit of Delta. They're probably going to say to insert dy dx in here. I would not, because they want me to simplify it, right? So I would just already start simplifying it right off the bat. What's my point? So I'm going to write right here on the top, I'm going to go dy dx at negative 3, negative 6 is equal to minus a negative 6, so 6 minus 4 over 1 plus negative 3. So I get 2 over negative 2. So negative 1, is that what you guys get also? I make mistakes, so make sure that I'm right, guys, that we're right. This is for the dy dx. So I'm going to say, yeah, negative 6, but it says negative y, right? Negative 6. Dy dx and negative 3, negative 6 is equal to negative 1. All right, so now I know. I know what dy dx is. I know what x is. I know what y is. I'm just going to plug in immediately like this. D squared y over dx squared is equal to 1 plus a negative 3, close, open. Now that says negative. What's minus a negative 1? 1, right? Does everyone see what I'm doing, guys? Okay. Minus a negative 6. So that's going to be a positive 6 minus 4 times 1 over 1 plus a negative 3 squared. All right. I think we're good now. Let's see. Negative 2 minus 2 over negative 2 squared over 4. So I see an answer. My final answer looks like it's going to be negative 1. How do we feel?